there has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michelle Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 235, From Food Truck to Vegan University. Adam Sobel of Cinnamon Snail. We're marching into March, my Veg Your Bestie, with another guest. And you know why I do this, right? Because there's no typical vegan. There's no typical vegan journey. And today's guest has been making his huge impact all his own way. This week's guest says, if you don't like puppies, unicorns, and rainbows, you'll hate my food. That's Adam Sobel, the vegan pioneer behind the Cinnamon Snail. And it all started because he wanted to feed the girl he loved. Adam joins us this week with his unique story of a wildly successful food truck that not only serves mouth-watering vegan dishes, it has revolutionized the way people think about plant-based cuisine. Adam Sobel is the culinary energy and vision behind the Cinnamon Snail, America's first organic vegan food truck, famed for its innovative and globally inspired menu, which features everything from vanilla bourbon creme brulee donuts to spicy Creole grilled tofu sandwiches. Adam's journey with the Cinnamon Snail was anything but smooth, okay? From battling freezing winters in Hoboken to navigating mechanical problems and the complex world of food truck. Did you think the way I did that food trucks were a simple way of starting a business? Ha! There were challenges, yet his passion for veganism and creativity in the kitchen kept the truck thriving. It has morphed into so many new ideas. His cookbook, Street Vegan, was published in 2015, and he still shares recipes and stories from his adventures on the road. Today, Adam continues to inspire me every day in my email inbox. I think it's every day. Almost every morning, there's an email from him through some online cooking class that he is tempting me towards. As a vegan caterer, as a consultant, as a plant-based missionary, you're going to hear the inside scoop from Adam today about running a food truck, adopting a wallaby, yeah, you heard that right, and the mysterious and captivating galactic mega stallion pop-up. Don't ask. You'll find out soon. In fact, let's go now, because I'll catch you on the other side. Adam Sobel from thecinnamonsnail.com. Welcome to Vedge Your Best.
I'm so delighted to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad. You know, I wanted you on here because in spite of 5 years of being kind of what I laughingly call myself a professional vegan, I only just learned about you. So I thought I might be the only one, but maybe not. And I want all my listeners to know about you.
Yeah, I've been hiding in the Bermuda Triangle. It's like located in Brigadoon. So I've been hidden in plain sight.
Every 12 years you come to the...
Yes, I crawl out of the mist into your heart.
Well, you sure did crawl out of the mist. And for me, I learned about you before Thanksgiving. I don't know if you did some sort of a launch or if you just needed to find me somehow, get your work to me. But I learned about you and I signed up for your Thanksgiving Burst Challenge. I can't remember exactly what it was called. And now I'm finishing up your Veganuary.
Oh, yeah.
Group. And you've got so much going on. And so I just wanted you to come on Vedge Your Best and talk about it so everybody knows what you do.
Yeah, all right, let's do it.
All right. So cinnamon snail, let's start there. Is that how people are going to be finding you?
Yeah,
Cinnamonsnail.com?
well, yeah, that's my website, and it's called that because it was the name of my very popular food business I had before the pandemic. I launched it in like 2010 on Valentine's Day, and it was the country's first like fully organic vegan food truck. And I had no real plan with the trajectory of that business. I was just like, I really want to make vegan food available to people who would never like be caught dead going into a vegan restaurant and just have them see this like super yummy display case of pastries and like a huge line down the block and want to check it out just because it looked yummy, you know? And it blew up beyond my wildest dreams. I mean, not like it didn't explode, but it became very popular. And I wrote a cookbook on it and opened up a couple restaurant locations, and it was wild. And yeah, then, the pandemic hit, and I'd been wanting to scale down anyway and do something closer to home. And I'd been teaching a little bit. So during the pandemic, I started teaching vegan cooking online. And the classes were really well attended, because I already had this pretty big following and stuff. Um, but I really wanted to reach out to new people. My goal has always been about turning people on to vegan food who might not necessarily give a damn about it just yet. Like, and really use it as a way of, activism to help people stop eating animals. And so I knew I wanted to keep reaching people who weren't already my fans. And a friend of mine was like, you should start a food blog. And people have been telling me that forever. And I just never had time for it. But then the pandemic was there, and I was just sitting home studying Sanskrit and hanging out with my kids every day. And I was like, all right, I could probably do this. And I really love the process of it. Like, I love it so much in a way that I really didn't with my cookbook. I mean, like, my cookbook's nice and everything, but it was a huge homework assignment, it felt like. Whereas the blog is like, first of all, it's free for everybody to access, which I love. Like, I want more people accessing vegan food. And it's a way that people find out about me and my classes and all that stuff. But I just really love the whole cycle of like the creative process with it. I love developing new recipes every week and focusing on different topics. And, like it's really forced me to get much better at food photography and all those things. And it's great. It's like now I get to do all the things I love the most about running a food business, creating fun vegan food, like having a lot of personality with it. And I don't have to deal with any of the stuff that I actually really hate, like being a boss of a zillion people and dealing with refrigerators that break down and all the other good things that happen with restaurants and food trucks.
So food trucks. So you have no food trucks currently?
Well, I have this new thing because I'm such a glutton for punishment, and food trucks are like the ultimate like everything will definitely go wrong type of business. Um, but like in doing this now, the pandemic, I can't believe it's like 5 years ago it started or something. Um, and doing all this stuff I'm doing online, the teaching, writing blogs, I do some culinary consulting for restaurant clients as well. And a little bit of catering. I cater weddings and corporate events and stuff, but I really was missing the action of like directly getting to serve people yummy food. So a couple years ago, I started this very intentionally small new vegan food business that it's like a pop-up thing I do once a week, and we designed this really beautiful looking trailer. It's all clad in this like laser cut steel panels. Like it looks really kind of like it doesn't look like a street food thing. It looks really pretty and refined, and there's all these like planters built into it and stuff. And we pop up every week, and the thing with it is it's called Galactic Mega Stallion. It's got like a spooky pony theme. And The thing with it is that every year it has a different theme that I riff on. Like, so the first season was all like vegan, Turkish and Middle Eastern cuisine. Last year was all like Malaysian and Indonesian inspired cuisine. And then within that year's theme, every week I create like a 100% different menu riffing on that year's style. So it's really fun for me creatively. Like it really forces me to like really get into the nitty gritty nuances of that year's vibe that I'm working on. And I've kept it really small so I can just do it, like myself and my younger daughter helping me with it. And we have like one guy we hire to like help with dishwashing at the end of the day. Um, but like I have no aspirations of like doing bigger things or festivals with it. Like I just really missed cooking for people. I've made it like super affordable, the menu we serve on it. And it's just like fun. So that's like the only capacity that normally people can actually get my food in real life now. And it's nice because, I mean, honestly, this is like a somewhat terrible time to be in retail food service, like between supply chain issues and the cost of ingredients and how difficult it is to find qualified employees who want to stick around. This is like just perfect for me because it's like just the fun, creative stuff with very little of the like management and operational headachy stuff that like is not my bag.
So if we want to kind of get a heads up where Galactic Mega Stallion may be popping up,
Yeah.
that we can find online.
Yes. So now you can. And at first, I was doing something really elusive with it. I won't go into super great details about, it, but I had this like really absurd way I was marketing it. Like it wasn't online at all, no social media or anything like that. And I had this like real Zodiac killer flavored marketing.
Geocaching.
It was wild. You can actually read about it on my blog. There's
Yeah.
if you go to cinnamonsnail.com and go to the pop-ups tab, there's like a whole article about Galactic Mega Stallion and where you can find it and like sort of the weird quirkiness of that project. But it's just fun, like it's just creative and fun and challenging.
And things are more fun when you don't have to get up at 6 in the morning and or earlier and get it done every single day and then
Yeah,
repeat
like
it.
on those days, it's a long, long day. Like it's not uncommon for me to have to get up at like 3:30 in the morning on those days.
But it's not 365 days of it.
And it's not every day, and I'm doing it like just because I want to. Like
Yeah.
that's really not where my livelihood comes from so much. Like in fact, I wouldn't be shocked if I like somewhat lose money on it. But it's just like I'm doing it because I sincerely love cooking for people, and that's why it's there.
So for all the people who are going, wait, no, my dream is to have a food truck and just have my curated list of treats that I want to offer my customers. You learned a lot in spite of the fact that you're not doing it anymore. What is it that you really learned by having food trucks?
Well, I did learn quite a lot, and I've written about it pretty extensively, both in my cookbook and in the Wall Street Journal and a few other publications who covered my story with it. Um, but it's look, a food truck is a great entry point to the food service world in the sense that it has a very low barrier to entry in terms of, you could buy some like old beat up food truck on Craigslist and spruce it up a little bit and, pay for some licensing fees and get open in considerably less money and commitment than is involved with opening up a restaurant. And there's a lot of people who approach it like that, like it's a way to test their, proof of concept for their restaurant that they intend to open. But in the long run, it ends up, and I say this as somebody like our food truck was absurdly popular. Like in 2014, it was the highest rated place to eat of any kind in New York City, and the number four highest rated place to eat in the entire United States on Yelp. And we had like every single day at least a full city long block line for our food truck. And all that being said, it's really very hard to be profitable with it. You know, it's got every problem a regular restaurant deals with, plus, like it gets parking tickets, plus it breaks down in traffic, and then, plus your generator dies, and then you have to throw out all the food you prepped in your fridge, and then it becomes very difficult to, maintain a staff, because if your truck is in the shop, like they can't work. And so it's a complicated business, especially if you're really like doing it 7 days a week and you do it as complicatedly as I did, because again, like I overthink everything and make everything chaotic for myself. But um I love it. It's very hard work, and people, there's a lot of folks like kind of fantasize about getting into the restaurant world and don't recognize that it takes more than just being like a talented cook to make a business like that work. You have to be kind of as good at cooking as you have to be at problem solving and bookkeeping and being strategic about things and knowing how to train other people well and make them feel motivated and like they have some skin in the game. And, when we closed the food truck business, it was, like I said, when the pandemic started, we had, 65 plus full-time employees. And, it had grown into this giant thing. We had like a HR manager and all this kind of stuff. And for me, like the biggest lesson was in what I do and do not want to be doing with my time and energy. And I don't aspire to like be the commander of an army like that. Like I think there are other ways that I can effectively move food culture and society towards nonviolence, that are not going to put me in an early grave from the stress of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think, this is such a interesting thing that so many adults have shared over the last 5 years is that so many of us had to pivot in
Yeah.
some way. Life changed in a way around us, and some of us found a more positive way to pivot it. Others of us were banging our heads against the wall, and it wasn't as fun at a period of time. I was one of the ones that had some fun. And I think it's such an interesting thing to see how you can reinvent yourself when you have to. And when you're in maybe not the first flush of youth, you've already have some professional background behind you. Now, did you have a food service background coming into the food trucks?
Yes. So I had already been working in restaurants for about a dozen years or something
Mm-hmm.
before I started my own business. You know, I we touched on this a little bit before we started recording the episode, but I became vegan because of my wife ultimately. When we met, I was like just in the tail end of high school. And she was like the first vegan person I really ever got to know very well. And I wasn't vegan or anything, and I really liked this girl, but all she ate was like French fries and canned soup. And I was like, man, I've got to like learn how to cook so I can make this girl something yummy, or this is garbage what she's eating. So I was like every day going to Barnes and Noble and like copying down recipes on a notepad and seeing what I could tweak to veganize things. And I was just experimenting a lot at home. And then I started working in restaurants to like hone my skills more. And the first restaurant I worked in was not it wasn't vegetarian by any means. And people would come into the restaurant and try to like modify dishes that were on the menu. And all the other line cooks would kind of like, crack jokes or whatever behind the line. And I kept on finding myself like standing up for these people, being like, like it's kind of a nice thing. They're just trying to not harm the animals. And then finally, one of the other line cooks was like, Adam, like, if you believe in this so much, why aren't you vegan? And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I went vegetarian then. And then about a year and a half later, we were having our first daughter. I was pretty young. I was like 19 when our daughter was born. And we had a really nice like home birth. Um, and during my wife's labor, I remember just thinking about how much I knew breastfeeding was going to be important for our child. Like we both really wanted to do things very naturally and stuff. And I knew it was going to be really important, not just like physically, but emotionally and spiritually. And, something just really clicked that day where I felt like, man, if I recognize how sacred this is for my own child, like, how could I continue to stand in the way of that relationship for other living creatures by continuing to consume dairy and stuff? I mean, I was already like mostly vegan at that point, but just had never really made the hard decision to not, so on that day, I became a dad and I also made this really empowering, important decision. And, now that daughter who was born that day is like, she's turning 24 this year. She's still vegan. She works in a vet hospital and stuff. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
Hmm. And you are also a animal lover,
Yeah.
as in adopting
Despite
animals.
my allergies, I'm
Oh
telling you,
no.
I will never stop snuggling with dogs, even if I die many years earlier from asthma or something. But yeah, we adopt a lot of animals, and we do like wildlife rehabbing and stuff like that. During the season, we'll have like baby squirrels or baby raccoons that we nurse back to health, who's maybe like the mom got hit by a car or whatever. And then we work with another rehabber who like releases them back into the wild. So yeah, yeah, we're very active in the, animal fostering and rehoming and all that sort of stuff.
And so, to explain to me, I understand where squirrels come from in New Jersey, but where did the wallaby come from?
Oh yeah, yeah. So we have this wallaby we adopted back in I think 2015. Wallabies are actually in the United States because people eat them. I think Outback Steakhouse for a while was like grinding them up and making burgers out of them and selling them as like kangaroo burgers. But yeah, I mean it's no weirder than people eating chicken or fish or anything else. But in any case, we were doing a lot of uh, rescue and rehoming work with sugar gliders at the time, which are actually, you're in Florida, I think they're sold very often in the South. Actually, the last batch we rehomed, my wife drove down to Florida to pick up and rehome, but they're sold as like impulse buy items in malls and stuff, and people don't realize they're very needy creatures that have very specific diet that they need to be on and social, needs that they don't do well without. So people dump them left and right. They think it's just this like cute little pocket pet or something, and then they realize it's like a full-time job to care for them. Anyway, so we had been doing, since they're also marsupials, like a wallaby, I guess from that kind of network of people involved in rescue stuff, we found out about this guy. A like a animal education center had adopted his mom and dad from some farm that was like raising them for meat. And they didn't realize that he was in the mom's pouch and they didn't have room for him at their animal education center. And I don't know what we were thinking, but we were like, yeah, we could take him. It's fine. So we have like a big fenced in backyard, and at our house we have like a doggy door so he can be indoors or outdoors as he pleases. And he's just like a really weird roommate. He's not like having a dog or cat. Like he's a wild animal. I don't think he'll ever know his name and come when we call him or ever, not leave a poop on our floor or something. His poops are not that gross. Just little foreclosure there. It's like a big sized rabbit poop or something. It's not like a dog crap.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, he's cute. He's costly to care for. There are only so many vets that know how to work on a wallaby, and they do have a lot of uniquely complicated medical issues that plague wallabies, unfortunately. But he's a happy guy, and yeah, he's just a weird roommate. That's all.
That is so interesting. I have never heard of anybody with a wallaby. I also didn't realize that wallabies were farmed, were raised for meat. I didn't
Yeah,
realize that.
unfortunately, it isn't. I mean, we're like only maybe one or two more weird presidential administrations away from people eating people in this country. So
Well,
we'll see what happens.
well, we will see what happens. I hope you're wrong.
Yes, me too.
I
But I
hope
mean,
you're
that's
wrong.
in any case, like, you can't put it past human beings to think of, eating every strange animal that doesn't deserve to be a snack. So,
Creative ways to be horrible to each other.
yes, yes.
So I got to know you with your Thanksgiving plan,
Yeah.
creating vegan, and you have a real bent towards delicious and
Yeah.
fun. So
Yeah.
I sometimes have some people on who are very um, well, they're trying to do they're trying to offer things to us that are very like nutritional and very I don't like to say the word healthy, but it's the reason behind the food is primarily health.
Right,
Your
right.
food is very delicious and it comes from that kind of tradition of street food, which
It
is
does. Well, I mean, it really all comes from like my main objective, which is to make vegan food that you can share with people who aren't vegan and have them be like blown away.
yeah.
Like I'm not, I mean, first of all, I think the food I share is reasonably healthy. I don't really require like processed gross ingredients. It's very like from scratch cooking. But like I will cook with oil in it. It's not like all raw zucchini or something like that. And um, I do like raw food, and personally, I eat like really healthy. I eat like a lot of veggies and smoothies and stuff like that. But I'm also aware, like, hey, if I'm gonna get, your uncle who like scoffs at vegan food every time to be a little bit more open-minded about, like, let's get a really freaking good, like, hazelnut chocolate ganache stuffed donut in front of that guy and break down some of these stereotypes people have that vegan food is like macrobiotic fare for sick people or something. And so that's always been like my main objective is like helping break down these stereotypes that our society has that vegan food is going to be lame or not as tasty,
Or
uh,
weird or just
or
weird.
weird. I mean, that's a huge objective, like in catering people's weddings. Like, it's a really great opportunity to turn on all their guests to how good vegan food can be. And you can't do that if it's like, what the hell is this tempeh thing? Like, you have to make it be like a really, you know, crispy, flaky spinach pie with roasted garlic and capers. And like, there's nothing weird about the fact that it doesn't have any meat or cheese in it. It just like happens to be vegan and it's super good. And so that's kind of like my angle with all of my recipes. It's not necessarily like health food per se. It's food that like is going to get your whole family to go vegan with you and is going to be craveable and more interesting than the non-vegetarian food they already eat. So that's always been my goal. And because of that, like I still try to make it pretty practical to make that kind of food at home. But if it's like the difference between dinner taking 45 minutes instead of 30 minutes and it's going to be way better, I'm going to do that. If
Mm.
it's the difference between having 12 ingredients instead of 8 ingredients, I'm still going to go with the thing that's going to make the better food. I don't claim to be like the healthiest or the easiest or the fastest. I want to make the food that's going to be the best and is actually going to help people you care about to stop eating animals, because that's the ultimate goal. Like there's plenty of other people. Like if you're already vegan and you just want like a fast dinner, like there's some other guy out there who's like teaching that, you know. I want to really be strategic about making food that's going to blow everybody's mind and like make it like a no-brainer that we should all go vegan.
I agree. And I do think that is one of the things that's so fun about the recipes and your program where you're sending the recipes every day. I saw some tofu recipes.
Mhm.
I know not every, I think I have learned to absolutely love tofu. And the
Yeah.
difference between great tofu and not great tofu is the person making the tofu, because it's really, because a chicken breast tastes like nothing either. How many
Mhm.
people have historically had chicken breast? It was leathery and awful and dry. And so it is in the hands of the cook to make it absolutely delicious and so good for you. And so I love that you had some beautiful recipes, and you also have all kinds of
Mhm.
instructions, fun videos available to show people how to do things. So
Yeah.
tell people what is out there for them when they sample your work.
So, yeah, I mean, other than the zillion recipes that you can access for free on my website, I teach monthly live streamed cooking classes. I have this huge, library of classes I've taught throughout the years on any topic from, tacos to dim sum to Chinese takeout style cuisine that's all veganized. But then I also have this program called Vegan University that I run, which is awesome. I really revamped it about a year ago, and it's basically like an online, vegan culinary school. It's got, you have access to all the classes I teach. We do like weekly office hours, and really, it's got like a whole kind of community component to it. And it's really like a collaborative effort between me and people, who are members from all around the world to really work together to move society towards a nonviolent lifestyle. And that's really the goal. Like the goal is not just for us to become better cooks. It's for us to like, that's like the tool. Is if we can improve our skills as cooks, that's great. But if it's not helping make more of the world go vegan, like it's kind of all for naught. Like it's all just for our own self, like so we can eat yummier food. And for me, that's not the goal. Like food's yummy. You don't really have to do much to like a good bag of cherries. It's like already awesome. But I've always seen this field as really the most fun, most positive form of animal rights activism out there. Like it takes all different kinds. I'm not mad about the people who, put up signs and yell or like break into labs and steal out animals who are going to be experimented on. Like it's all good, but like to me, this is the most effective and positive and fun feeling way to help people to stop eating animals and to not do it by forcing them, but for them to have that realization, hey, this is going to be yummier, it's going to be more fulfilling, I feel better, I feel better emotionally that I'm not causing this harm to animals. And that's how you make very lasting cultural change, is not by forcing people, but by people having that introspection and realization that they should change something about themselves and how they affect the world around them. So that's very much the goal of that vegan university program. I mean, it's got all this awesome content, but that's the objective there. And it's really nice. There's people from all around the world, and so you get all these, we'll share a recipe. Like I shared this rosewater blackberry vegan panna cotta recipe. It's like an Italian custard. And, one of the students who was in Hawaii made it using the vanilla beans that they grew from their own orchids there. And they shared about, them tending to the vanilla. And, in the fall, I shared some recipe, and one of our members like made it with their own homemade apple cider, and they like showed off apple cider press. And it's really like a nice collaborative community kind of atmosphere to learn and to support each other in this kind of mission. So yeah, that's kind of all the stuff I have going on. I mean, the other thing I do, which I touched on briefly, is I do a lot of culinary consulting for people with food businesses or who are starting food businesses. Everything from, restaurants and food trucks and caterers to food manufacturers who might want me to design like a whole vegan product line for them. And I really enjoy that a lot because, aside from helping people with the like creative culinary side of it, there's a lot of insight I share with my clients to help them like mitigate the issues with launching a food business if they're new to that field and stuff. So all the info about that's all on my website. I have a whole like consulting page. But yeah, those are the primary things that I'm doing out there on the World Wide Web.
Well, that there's a lot on your website. I agree. And it's very easy for people to get on cinnamonsnail.com and take a look at all the different aspects of your work. And that is what's so interesting about being, I think, a real professional is that food is such a line into so many different parts of our world. There is the business part, there is the entrepreneurial part, there is obviously the hospitality part. There's also just the interpersonal connection part, and I think that's just so fun. The idea of people talking about how they've used your recipes and your recommendations, and how they turn it into their own family, something that their family is actually consuming and sharing thousands of miles away.
That thing that you found out about me on that Thanksgiving program, I run that every single year. It's a completely free program. And every year it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Like I think it was like 6,500 people took it this year. And it's, what it is, it's like a 20-day program starting November 1st, where you get every day like a different Thanksgiving recipe and some guidance about, how to prep it so that it's not going to be stressful. And, to me, that's like the biggest challenge for a lot of people who want to share vegan food with their families. That's like the most meat centric of all holidays. And, it's the time that people are most like scared about sharing vegan food
Or
with their,
changing something.
or yeah, or changing something like they have their aunt's, famous green bean casserole and how can they compete? So, I've really over the years curated a better and better selection of stuff to give people guidance on. And, it's not just the people taking that program. Like Google doesn't lie. Some of these recipes are very highly sought after around Thanksgiving, and it's not just vegan people cooking them. And it's just really nice. It's a nice project because I get to give people some very um, supportive like mentoring in this thing that I think is like a little bit of a rite of passage. If you can pull off like incredible vegan Thanksgiving desserts that your not vegan family is gonna love, then it opens up a whole, the whole rest of the year is yours to continue to blow people's minds. Like once they're open-minded about that one thing, it's all easy from there.
I had a guest on recently who just said she couldn't believe how many people that she knew to be sophisticated, intelligent, loving people who, when she went vegan, they were just like, well, the food must be awful,
Mm.
and so some of us really need to I think some of us who are immersed in it all the time forget that there is a group of people in the world that are walking around just innocently assuming our food is awful. And so you're doing something that's just reminding everybody how delicious it can be, how maybe not simple, but doable, achievable
Sure.
it can be
Yeah.
for all of us. So and so when we, because I always say my job is that if anybody is in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and they think it's too late for me to go vegan. I want to be the voice that just goes, no, it's not. No, it's not.
Mhm.
You've got a voice going out there saying, if you think food is going to be, you're going to lose something by eating vegan from a taste point of view. No, it's not. You're not losing
Oh, for
anything.
sure. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that really hit me when I went vegan is, like all my childhood, I ate the same dozen or so foods, like now I eat a zillion things. Like we eat all because you want to find these more flavorful, interesting things and sauces and condiments you can make that really light the food up. And I think it's so easy to surpass, the 20 different things you can do with chicken or whatever. Like you can do so many more interesting things. It's like instead of just those dozen or so things, now you have the whole world to eat from, and it's great.
Right. You're losing nothing. You're losing nothing. So Vegan University, how are we supposed to decide whether Vegan University is for us? We go onto your website, cinnamonsnail.com.
So, I mean, what you can always do is on the classes page on my website, you can go check out any of the classes. You can just get one of them. Any of the pre-recorded or upcoming ones are available on there. And when you sign up for one, there's always an offer for like a free trial of Vegan University after you sign up for one. And you can take that trial for like a week, and in that week you have access to all the classes I've ever taught. So it's a pretty valuable deal. And you can see if it's right for you. It's not for everybody. It does take some self-determination about it. It's not like a very rigid curriculum. So it's kind of up to you to actually cook the stuff. And I'm not going to be hiding in your crawl space, making you get in trouble if you don't cook so and so meal. Um, but it's great for the people who it's great for. Um, but yeah, so if you take any of the classes on my website, there's an offer for the free trial of it when you get one of those classes.
I'm convinced a lot of people are going to love it. I hope people will go on the website, cinnamonsnail.com. I hope they'll read a little bit about your story, read about your other options, the other things that you're doing that's not just the recipes for those of us that want to inject a little bit more fun and flavor into our weekly meals. What's one thing that you could leave everybody with, Adam, that would be like, it's winter. We don't have all the same things available in the Northern Hemisphere in the supermarket, but what's something we need to do, you think, this week with food?
This very week?
This very week.
Ooh, just one thing. All right. Well, if it's possible for you, I know not everybody's this hungry. There's this guy I'm really obsessed with. His name's Michael Lotito. You can look him up on wikipedia.com. And Michael Lotito ate an entire airplane. So that's my challenge to your listeners. Get eaten an airplane. It's pretty much vegan.
Is it vegan?
I mean, it's like mostly made out of metal, I guess. I don't know. He ate the airplane. I read an interview with him, and he said that the hardest part of the airplane to eat was the seats. That's what he said. But yeah, I would suggest all of your listeners right now go to the airfield and just chow down on that airplane. That's what you got to do.
That will cut down the carbon footprint of our society.
It's good for the winter time, like you were saying. Any time of the year is okay, but it's really hardy in the winter time. Warm your soul right up a delicious airplane.
And probably full of all kinds of micronutrients. We probably
Lots
must.
of minerals. Definitely lots of minerals in there.
Adam Sobel, cinnamonsnail.com. Thank you so much for joining. I am so delighted to have learned about you in the last few months. I can't wait to see what you do next, and I can't wait for all the listeners to check out cinnamonsnail.com and Vegan University and see what's going on.
I love you, Michelle. Thanks for having me on here, and toodaloo.
So what did you think about Adam Sobel and the cinnamon snail? Adam's journey is such a testament to how boldness, energy, compassion, and fun can really transform not just how we think about food, but how we live in this world with each other. And the way Adam shares that his mission is to make vegan food irresistible, even to the most skeptical eater, well, it's easy for you to get a good look into all of this and his commitment at cinnamonsnail.com. And you'll want to know about cinnamonsnail.com's Vegan University too. If today's episode has whetted your appetite at all, whether for vegan recipes or fresh ideas on building a more inclusive food culture and community, be sure to get on Adam's email list. You will love it. And who knows, maybe one of his fresh flavors or funny anecdotes will inspire you to try something brand new in the kitchen. Because a happy vegan is a serious win, isn't it? Okay, Adam Sobel, cinnamonsnail.com. Check it out. Links are in the show notes, and your marching orders this month could not be simpler. You just veg your best. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.